Okie dokie. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live session. We're just going to go for 20 minutes, half an hour. I've got a special guest. Some of you will know him. Some of you won't. He's called Alex Watson. He's a bioenergetics teacher, which is a practice that we'll talk about. He's a body-based therapist, a friend of mine, and yeah, just a good lad. So I've got him on. We're going to talk about the importance of coming back into the body, what it means to come back into the body, what it means to be embodied, why it's important to come into our body. Why is that an important thing to do? How does that lead to a happier life? How does that lead to a more fulfilling life? And we're going to talk about the various ways in which you can do that. We've only got half an hour, so we're not going to go really, really deep into this, but we'll see what unfolds. We don't usually have so much of a plan with these things. So yeah, Alex, do you want to say hi?
Hey guys, yeah, welcome to this live. Happy to be here as ever. I think it's the what's about the third or fourth one we've done now, Chris?
Third, I think.
Is it the third?
Third, yeah. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day with your partners. And if you're single and feeling a bit sad and depressed, then you're in the right place, because coming into the body is good for those things. So we'll see. Okay, Alex.
Yes.
Why would one want to come back down into the body, and what does it mean to inhabit the body, to come back down into the body?
Well, I think first of all, what comes to mind is that in the body is where we experience our joy. You know, it's where we experience this unconditioned happiness. It's where we experience our natural expression, our authentic self. In the body is where we experience our power, like boundaries, you know, being grounded and rooted on the earth. So, you know, I think for me, that is probably the most important or the biggest reason why somebody would want to make the journey back to the body, you know, because primarily we're kind of living in our heads, kind of just up here, up top in this thought realm. And more often than not, people typically keep going further and further and further and further up, away from the body. And as they're going up, they're coming further away from these qualities, what I just described. So the journey back to the body for me is like the most important journey that anyone could ever make. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it. But there are some obstacles. We have to put the work in. It's not for the faint-hearted, the journey for the body, back to the body.
Why isn't it for the faint of hearted? What are the obstacles? Why aren't people living in their bodies? Why are people living in their heads?
Well, I think it all comes down to repression. It comes down to repressed feelings that are stored in the body. So we have two groups, basically. When I work with the body, I treat two groups, and one of these groups is called holding patterns. So constricted, tight muscles, tissues and fascia, all the way down to the cells. In fact, the cells themselves can store tension. And then we also have another group, which is called dead zones, where we just completely take the awareness out of the muscle or out of the body. So, you know, this can be a challenge when treating this sort of stuff, because typically for the average person, as they go through life day by day, week by week, and then, you know, going into years and then sort of decades, we're just constantly pushing stuff down, because for the most part, we don't want to feel uncomfortable. Anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, we say, no, thank you, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to push it back down and constrict my muscles, and I'm going to hold it within my body. But the trouble is with this, it never actually goes away unless you work on it in the type of way that we do, you know, bioenergetics and somatic meditation. So this energetic emotional charge is just sat in the body, and this can be going back decades for some people. You know, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, So for the average person, they really are storing a lot of this emotional charge within the body. And this is what can make it very difficult, because in many ways we have to open the muscles back up and then feel into the body, because as the muscles open, then uncomfortable feelings from the past can start to come up. But it's very healing. It's very healing. So it can feel difficult without the tools. It can really feel difficult. And then on the other hand, we have dead zones where, as I said, we just completely take the awareness out of the muscles. So if you've got a holding pattern, you may be able to feel that unnatural tension, that holding, even though you're fully relaxed or you think you're fully relaxed, you can sense that there's a bit of tension. But with a dead zone, it's almost like you don't have any awareness there. So kind of feeling into the lower back for the average person, or feeling into the backs of the legs. Not many people can actually feel anything there, maybe a little bit of sensation. So that's another thing that we treat, is these dead zones, which can be a bit difficult to treat. But working with somatic practices allows the awareness to come back down and start to reoccupy the body. Yeah. Which is very difficult, because for the average person, we're so used to living up top that starting to live from the body is a completely new way of being. It's a new way of life to come into the body, to be embodied, which is a journey. It's a real journey to go on. It's not an overnight thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got two questions. Firstly, and I need to go and shut my door before you start answering, but I'll ask the question first, give you some time to think. If you've got a dead zone in your body, like I've not really heard so much about dead zones. It's almost like, how do you know you've got a dead zone? And what would be the first port of call to address the dead zone? And what would be the effect of coming into the dead zone? What would happen if you came into the dead zone and you start inhabiting that dead zone? But bear with me 1 second, because I just need to shut the door. It's making this annoying noise. I'm back.
So question one, how would you know if you've got a dead zone?
Yeah. How do you know you've got these dead zones, and what to do about them? And how does that change your experience of life coming into the dead zones and addressing the dead zones?
So, I mean, it's quite basic, really. Like if you don't have feeling in a certain area of the body, or you have very little feeling in a certain area of the body, it's quite likely that it's a dead zone. It's an area where you can't feel. It's a simple experiment, Can I feel into the center of my shoulder blades, into my back? How readily will my awareness, my attention go there? How easily can I feel into this part of my body? And if I can't feel that much, it's quite likely that a lot of that part of my body is kind of in this dead zone area. It's kind of a weak part of my body. It has little going on. It's kind of limp and loose, and there's not much activity there. It's kind of numb. So these are things to look out for. So people can do that as an experiment, just feel into the body, feel into the different parts of the body. If you want to check out if you've got dead zones or not, just ask yourself, how easily can I feel my body? And, places like the hands, we tend to have more aliveness in the hands. In the feet, tend to have more aliveness in the feet, but other areas, not so much. I mean, when I first started doing this work, I couldn't feel anything in my back. There was just no feeling whatsoever. In fact, I couldn't feel anything. I didn't even know I had a body. Like that's how much I was in my head. It was such a revelation. Like, fucking hell, I've got a body. I have a body. I never noticed before. Of course, you see this form this body, but you're not aware of the experience of having a body, because my body was so dead. But coming back into the body and treating these dead zones, it allows you to be more grounded. It allows a certain level of groundedness. You know, you're not so trapped up top. You're not so easily blown over by life, like a victim to life, because you have a anchor in the body. You are anchored, rooted, grounded in the body, which that alone is worth it. You know, just to be resilient, just to be grounded and anchored in the body. But also you just start to feel more. You start to feel more love. You start to feel more softness. You start to feel more just lightheartedness, you know, like everything isn't a big deal. Like the mind just plays out to me 24/7. Or my mind did, at least, anyway. And yeah, we just start to have more access to these different parts of ourselves, these different qualities of experience. And these qualities of experience can rarely be experienced in the mind. In fact, they can't be experienced in the mind, because in the mind they have conditions, they have judgments and limitations. But to really feel into the heart, feel connected to everything and everyone, really is a experience of the body, not a mental sort of concept. So to kind of summarize that, Chris, I'd say it brings a certain richness back to life. It makes life potent. It makes life become more alive, if you like life has an intensity. And this isn't all, you know, we just feel good, we feel great, that's it, I'm going to do bioenergetics and I'm going to be amazing. It comes with like everything, all the anxiety. It comes with the sadness. It comes with the joy. It comes with the anger, you know. So it's like everything is included. But this is it. This is human life. Like, this is what it is to be human. This is what it is to be on this journey of experience, of the human experience. Because we see so many people, you know, in traditional therapies, talking therapies, medication and things like that. And it's just all about kind of like dialing down the anger and, you know, getting rid of the anxiety. But in body-based therapy and working in this type of way, it's actually much more of a inclusive approach of including everything, all the richness, all the juiciness of everything, every part is welcome. So it's a much more expansive approach when we're working with the body. It's way more expansive. It's way more inclusive of everything, rather than just trying to think correctly or take a pill and dial something down a bit. I'm not calling them, by the way, because I've also done that type of approaches, and it was needed for me at that time. But yeah, taking on the journey of the body is, a beautiful and well worth it thing, and an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well said. The phrase that's coming to me is, if you want to know what love is, you've got to feel the pain. If you want to, I think it's a song, if you want to know what love is, you've got to feel the pain. And that's this approach, really, isn't it? That's been my approach. It's like meeting it all, and then that meeting it all opens you up to this flow of love. And when you were talking, I was kind of remembering, because I don't think of myself, I don't think, oh, I'm in my body. I never think like, I don't think about it. I don't think, oh, I'm living in my body and I used to live in my head. But when you were talking about being in the mind and what it's like to be in the mind, I was remembering like when I first went to therapy 10 years ago, and you were talking about being cut off from the body and not knowing the body. And I remember going to therapy and it was all about the head. And my consciousness was just so in these thoughts, just so in the thoughts. And the main difference in my life now is that I'm in my body, actually. Even though there's stuff going on in the body, even though there's still stuff processing, stuff moving through the body, it's like you land here, you come back home. And it's just, it's almost like you have to go through that process. You have to go through a kind of messy, challenging process of coming back and meeting the body and meeting these feelings you pushed away to get to the goodness, to get to the juice.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what I was kind of resonating with, or what was coming to me, was oh, it's gone. It's disappeared.
Well, I really liked what you said, man, about the I think you said about my consciousness was so involved with my thoughts, like it's so entangled with this thought realm. And really working with the body-based practices, embodiment practices, in many ways, it's about bringing the consciousness back to the body, and in giving more awareness, consciousness, whatever we want to call it, attention back to the body, then we start to see really that we don't have to fix so much up top, because when the consciousness, awareness is just resting more readily in the body, and I still go into my head quite often, but it is a practice coming back to the body and feeling and giving the control back to the body. We realize that not so much work needs doing up top, and it's very difficult. I find it very difficult to change my thought processes. My mind was just so chaotic. It still can be, but it doesn't matter so much, because when the awareness starts settling down and coming back into the body, it's like, okay, well, I'll just rest here instead.
Yeah, man. And that changing the thought processes, that trying to change the thought processes, what I started to see was that the one trying to change the thought processes was just the thought processes that you didn't want trying to change themselves. You know what I mean? It's just, you're disturbed by the mind, you're disturbed by the thinking, or the thinking is disturbed by itself. The thinking is thinking, oh, I need to get rid of my thoughts. And then it starts trying to change the thought patterns using the same energy of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that just creates more thoughts out of the same energy. And they might be nicer thoughts, in that you might start saying stuff like, I love myself, everything's good, trying to create positive thoughts. But there's an energy behind it of the desperation from the mind that was trying to fix itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And then it's like, you just have to get away from that, because that is just going to keep going. That's the mind of the seeker.
Mm-hmm.
The mind of the one who's trying to escape suffering. And it'll just create all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, okay, forget about the mind completely. Boom, just come into the body, touch in with your being. And it sounds simple, and it is simple when you've practiced it for a long time.
Mm.
But at first, the mind's quite complicated. The mind is still complicated, and it'll try and figure stuff out. And so maybe that's a good question for you. If the mind comes up, if someone hears about this body-based approach, the natural thing to happen, they'll listen to you, they'll hear a technique, they'll hear a method. I suppose it's different with bioenergetics because it's a physical practice. But with the kind of bringing awareness into the body and this sort of thing, what would you say to someone who has heard it and is trying to bring attention to the body, but they're thinking about this a lot? They're still thinking about it all a lot. The seeking mind is still very active. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to that?
You know what? It's interesting you've just asked that question, because my partner, she come to me this morning and she did some bioenergetics. She's been practicing for about 18 months now. And she just had this insight. She's been talking about feeling the body. She won't mind me sharing, I don't think. She's been talking about feeling the body and like, wow, God, there's so much that's shifted. There's so much that's changed. I'm way more grounded and this, that, and the other. And then she come to me this morning and actually mentioned that she realizes that she hasn't been feeling the body as much as she thought. So she's been feeling it, but she's been thinking a lot about feeling. So it's still being a mental process for her. And she's been going for 18 months, and we live together. I'm practicing, so our life is kind of like we're constantly working towards this embodiment, body-based therapy. So to relate it to what you're saying, I think it's enough just to have them thoughts of like, I just want to try this out, you know, okay, feeling the body, yeah, that's interesting. Let me contemplate that. Whatever is pulling you towards that, just stick with it. You know, I can say let go of the mind, surrender the mind and things like that. But to somebody who's kind of thinking a lot and this is just resonating, it probably put them off to start with. And, you know, the more you practice bioenergetics, the more you work with somatic meditation, you are constantly having insights and observations about your experience. It's not like, oh, okay, I know this technique now, and I'm just going to be able to do it, because it's not like that. We've had 20, 30, 40, 50 years plus of living in the mind. You're not going to go to be in a full embodied state overnight. It's not like that. It's not a quick fix. So anybody who is thinking about starting these practices, working with the body, it's still very much a mental experience. I'd say it's okay. It's okay. Of course, let go of it when you can and just feel into the body. But the body will only give so much in terms of what it feels safe to give you. You know, like there'll only be so much awareness that the body will allow back in. And that's the beauty of it in a way, because we can't force it. The mind can't control this. It can go crazy and, you know, read all the books, embodiment, spirituality, whatever. But when it comes to the body, it's just a steady, continuous journey of allowing the feeling sense to come back online and coming back into the body. So if you are somebody who's watching this and you are feeling quite into body-based therapy, but the mind's a bit chaotic, that's okay. Just do what you can do. Just do what you can do. But don't underestimate the potency, the power of feeling the body, this journey back to the body. It really is a transformational path, truly transformational. You know, anything which is somatic, truly somatic, not only transforms the mind and the emotions and the body, but it transforms your state of being. Like it's a full shift, energetic shift in experiencing that, you know, that steady awareness, beingness, whatever we want to call it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's a really deep change, but it comes over time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I'm just wondering, how much time do you have on this call?
Yeah, I've got time, man. I was actually thinking, I know we said at the start of this call about maybe doing a bit of meditation, but I was thinking of some, there's like a breathwork technique, which I practice, Reiki and breathwork. It's really good for dead zones, as we kind of talked a little bit about that. I think it'd be good just to give people a bit of a taste of how they can start to treat dead zones. It's a very simple exercise. I'll just guide us through it if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sounds great, man. I mean, I'm really enjoying the conversation, but we'll have more conversations in the future, I'm sure. So yeah, before we start that, should we just tell people a little bit about the Back to the Body journey we've got starting tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, so we've got a 10-week journey starting tomorrow. Some of you've probably heard about it. You might have been on our workshops the last few weeks. It's myself and Alex. I'm doing lessons into the body with awareness practices. It's kind of, on this channel, I've given lots of tips, lots of exercises, lots of stuff. But this is going to be more of a step-by-step guide back to the body, kind of going through, week by week, just building and building week by week back into the body. And of course, it's not step-by-step exactly. There's no step-by-step guide back into the body, really. But that's what I'm doing. There's guided meditations every week and a new lesson every week and live sessions and some bonuses. And Alex is doing live bioenergetics sessions every Thursday evening. And if you can't make it live, they're recorded so you can watch it recorded. And then Alex is going to be giving homework exercises to practice through the week to do these bioenergetic exercises. So Alex, do you want to tell the guys a little bit more about the course and your side of the course?
Sure, man. I mean, just kind of in relation to what we've talked about on this call, you know, doing the talking about dead zones and holding patterns, we're really going to be working on treating that sort of stuff. And you know, pretty much everybody has got dead zones and holding patterns to some degree. So it is going to be a 10-week journey around the body. So we're really going to be exploring every single part of the body, you know, feeling into these different parts, stretching these different parts, breathing in to these different parts of the body. Yeah, and we're going for it. It's 10 weeks bioenergetics. It's really going to be radical, deep, intense, loving, transformative. Yeah, and I'm super excited to get started with it. I can't believe it's tomorrow, actually. It's come around quite quick.
Yeah. It's going to be great. We've got a sweet group coming together.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a real little community feel. And we're just going to dive deep for 10 weeks. We keep saying the words dive deep, don't we? It's like, it's a deep dive. If you want to dive deep into the body, really sort of, initiate this embodiment or deepen into your own embodiment, then it'll be a great course for you.
Definitely. You know, I also as well, just to add, if people haven't seen our videos such as like the bow, the arch, the jaw stretches, like certain bioenergetics, what we've done, check out some of the other videos. Maybe you could post a link, Chris, just so people could maybe get a taste of what we're going to be covering. We're going to do a little bit of breath work now, but it's not necessarily bioenergetics. So if people want to check out more of what I offer, bioenergetics, watch the other videos what we've done together. There's quite a few online now.
Yeah, there's a few on YouTube, but I'll also post in the link. And yeah, it's important that you follow along with at least one of those bioenergetics classes, just so you know what bioenergetics is about. It's very different to what I teach in a way. It's a lot of it is physical postures, holding postures, and in a really, I don't know, magical way, these postures release tension and release trauma from your body. It's an awesome practice. I do it most days. But yeah, well, breathwork's a little part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And to be fair, Chris, you know, what you offer and what I offer really complement each other. My approach is very much opening up the body, breaking these neurotic holding patterns open from the muscles, from the tissues, the fascia, all the way down to the cells, really going deep. And then your practice is very much to kind of meet these with love and openness and acceptance and compassion, and just really bringing that to an experiential level. So one is kind of me opening up the body, guiding you, supporting you, and then the other aspect is Chris supporting you to meet the intensity of anything that may arise. And of course, I'll be supporting you with that as well.
Yeah. And also, we're going to be encouraging you to come into the body through the week. Like my first week's lesson is about just really coming into the hands, coming into the body. And anytime you notice yourself through the week in a queue or whatever, or waiting for the bus or wherever you are, just encouraging you to just start coming down into the body in gentle ways. So yeah, the 10 weeks is going to be like, an encouragement back into the body as well. So it'll be sweet. Yeah. Okay, man. Should we do the breath work?
Yeah. If you just give me a minute, I'll get set up. I'll change the camera angles and stuff.
Are we lying down for this, mate?
Yeah, mate, we're going to be lying down. Sorry.
Okay. Second. Ella and Tom have just gotten home, so I'm going to just move off somewhere.
Okay, mate.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So this is Reikian breath work, and it's a lot different to sort of a lot of breath works that are out there, simply because it's much more to do with bringing awareness back into the body. You know, there's I'm sure there's other breathwork techniques that do that and focus on that, but the ones that I've practiced, a lot of them was about taking you out of the body in a way. You know, we kind of build up the body with so much oxygen, and then it kind of clears things out. We feel a bit clearer in the mind, and then it almost takes us up and out. That was my experience of a lot of breath work. I'm kind of thinking about the Wim Hof method and things like that, which is great. But this is much more to do with getting the feeling and awareness back in the body. Also, it's a way to build up the charge. So when I said about these emotions, these repressed emotions that are held in the body and they never go anywhere, they just sit contracted, constricted within the muscles. So this is also an exercise, a little bit more gentle than standard bioenergetics, but still can be deeply evocative. So take care, but I invite you to really take it on. We're only going to do it for maybe about 8 minutes, but really taking it on, pushing the belly out. Actually, I'll demonstrate that. So I'll lay down. So if you'd like to take your positions, if you're following along live or getting ready to follow along on the replay. So how we're going to do this, the knees are up, what are these called? Ankles are quite close to the backside, but not locked. We're kind of nice and relaxed. Knees are up, and then the palms face it out towards the sky, the ceiling, and we're relaxed, just nice and relaxed as can be. And this breath work goes, I'm going to put the timer on so we can explain as we go. And the way this breath work goes is we just push the belly out. So it's called belly breathing. Such a sophisticated name. So we're pushing the belly out as far as it will go, really pushing the lower part of the belly out. And then just letting the breath come back in, so the belly fall away. And hopefully you can see on the screen that my belly is the only thing which is moving. And this is breathing through the mouth, so the belly pushes out, the oxygen comes in, and then we just let go. Pushing the belly out, really focusing, feeling into the belly. And just letting go. So keeping the mouth open a bit. Everything is isolated, super important. It's only the belly which is moving. As the breath comes in and the breath goes out, really using that as a chance to feel into the body, starting to reoccupy the body, allowing our awareness to come back inside the body. As a rough guide, maybe sort of 5 seconds on the in breath and 5 or 6 seconds on the out breath. Don't make it a mental experience, just a rough guide.
stretching that belly all the way out as far as you can, feeling into the stretch of the belly, and then just letting go. You can take a bit of practice. The mind comes in, we start to drift off, but stick with it. All we have to do is breathe with the belly, allowing the oxygen to come in, allowing the oxygen to leave. Completely rested everywhere else in the body. Now, if the eyes open or closed, it doesn't really matter for this exercise. We're just getting to know what it's like to breathe with the belly. And it's how we're meant to breathe, in fact. And it's through these holding patterns that our breath has got shallower and shallower and shallower. To the point where we're just breathing from the nose or the throat. We're training ourselves to breathe from the belly again. Let's not forget, we're really feeling into our body, feeling into the pelvis, into the legs. Sticking with it, guys. Even if you're drifting off, spacing out, with energy building up, stick with it. Nothing to do but come back to this belly breathing. Be very relaxing. And also be very intense. But we're training ourselves to welcome all experience. Everything is welcome in our experience. Not excluding anything. A little bit of sound on the out breath if you feel to, but
Oh. Oh.
ah, just doing this practice alone without anything else can still seriously transform our experience over time. It's a great way to treat blocks and holding patterns, as I called it earlier, and also a great way to treat dead zones, allowing the awareness to come back inside the body. We have about a minute left to go, so I invite you to really take it on. Can you stay present? Full in breath and the full out breath, and we stay present by feeling into the body, by experiencing what's there to be experienced. Feeling into the pelvis, feeling into the legs. Maybe a bit of involuntary movement starts happening, maybe not. It's not so important, but if it is, just stick with it. Okay, guys, and we're just gonna rest there, stretching the legs out. You can, if you've got the space to do so. And we're just gonna lay for a minute, closing our eyes. Even if you have the eyes open, I invite you to close them now. Breathing out however you want, feels natural. But using this as an opportunity to really feel the body, feel into your experience of the body. As I said earlier, at one point in my life, I wasn't even aware that I had a body. So just initiating an invitation to the body to come back online, the body to come back online, and be deeply healing and transformative. Okay, slowly coming back up.
So that's the Reichian breathing, or Reichian breath work, but there's lots of other components that he added to it. But that's just the basic way that we breathe in bioenergetics and Reichian breath work. And for me, it's the most effective way to breathe. Can't remember if I said during the exercise, I think I might have done, but I'll just repeat it, that, you know, when a baby's born, they breathe from the belly. Their belly moves. If you think back to a baby, when they're first born, before they've experienced life and they've had a lot of stuff thrown at them, they just naturally breathe from the belly. Or just a vision of a dog just come to mind. You know, if a dog's laid in its dog basket, you usually see the belly inflating and deflating. And really, it's how we're meant to breathe. But so many of us like holding all of this tension up here, like using the throat muscles to breathe, when really they're not designed for that. The belly is designed to breathe. So take it on, you know, experiment with this. It really can be a transformative practice. And if you've got any questions, any feedback, anything you'd like to add, anything that resonated, yeah, leave it in the comments, and I can get back to you. Chris can let me know. I'll check the video in a day or two. Or if you've got any suggestions, you know, any ideas for videos, or if you feel like you're dealing with something and this work may help you, then please let us know. But anyway, guys, that concludes our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Great. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, see you another time.
Are we ending the live and staying on, or?
Well, I thought you were wanting to get off, mate. That's why.
No, man. We can leave the live there, yeah, because I've got another call. But yeah.
Well, let me just ask you one question then, if you have got 5 more minutes, because I did have a question for you.
I could see it.
But yeah, I thought you were needing to get off. Yeah, so it's the thought that disappeared 20 minutes ago or whatever. If someone is coming into if someone's afraid to feel, because we're saying this journey isn't for the faint of hearted, and the stuff's going to come up, and some people can be like, fuck that, I'm going to just stay in my head, or I'm just going to stay watching Netflix. Like, no way. Yeah, well, what was coming to me first was that the more I've practiced doing this, the emotions are still coming up. I still feel intense emotions, but they affect me less. It's not like they don't cause suffering in the same way. So I think that's important to know. It's not like you're just going to be in this pit of emotions the whole time you go through this process. Like step by step, the more you practice month by month, the emotions don't cause the same suffering anymore. It's like you can feel them and be okay. You can feel them and smile. You can be okay within them. You can be okay within the process. And the emotions still continue to unwind, untangle within awareness, but it's not the same as when you're identified with the mind and it's causing you the suffering. So that was what I was going to say when I lost my thought. But what would you say to the question of if people are afraid to do this work because of the feelings that might come up?
I mean, first of all, there are some people that feeling the body is just too intense for them. It's just too intense. So I think it's clear to make the distinction that some people, not, most people can handle the feeling, but there are some people, there's a small percentage of people that may have a mental illness, mental health disorder, and just feeling the body might be too intense. However, that being said, combining it with, talking therapy, medication, you can still make the journey back to the body if you are in that category where my trauma has just been too intense and it terrifies me to come back into the body. I still wouldn't give up on the body. I still wouldn't give up on the body. Even just feeling the tiniest amount, just 2 minutes in the morning, feeling into the soles of your feet. Over time, I'd say 100% of people could do that. Practicing bioenergetics and Reiki breath work, not everybody can do that because it is quite emotionally evocative. So, I'm kind of speaking to a small percentage of people there. But if you are somebody who's just like, I have been running from my feelings and I really don't want to add more intensity, more emotion to my life because it's already filled with that, then I'd say, one, you have the awareness of that, which is great. But two, in a way, without coming back into the body, coming back into the emotions, they never really go anywhere. They never really leave the system. So without kind of meeting the feeling, without going into the feeling, then it can be difficult to actually create a life which is fulfilling, that is, has happiness and spontaneity and naturalness and things like that. So I guess what I'm saying with this is don't give up on the body. It doesn't have to be a huge, intense, emotional experience. And quite often it's not that. It's not really that. It's more little bits here and there. We don't go full on to like releasing every single thing that you've ever stored in your body in one session. That's not the intention. The body has its own wisdom. It wouldn't allow that. So yeah, trusting in the body, doing a little bit at a time. If you are somebody who really knows they can't handle their feelings, or you have that narrative going around, yeah. I don't know if that answered the question or I got a bit veered off there, but hopefully it resonates with some.
No, that's great, man. Yeah. I like what you said about trusting the body. And what came to me as well is like the body starts to trust you as presence, because the more you do this, the more your presence grows. And the body won't let go of things unless it trusts this loving presence to hold it.
Definitely.
One way in which you can bring that trust is through, well, within yourself, there's ways, obviously growing in presence, growing in love, growing in awareness, growing in self-compassion, but with support as well. I've always had therapists and people supporting, and groups, when we do group sharings in a circle, when you're in a group sharing, it's a shared presence, isn't it? The shared presence of the group might be able to hold the feelings inside that your consciousness isn't quite ready to hold on its own. And that shared presence of a group can allow the things to come up and be met by the presence of the whole group, basically. So yeah, group work and having a therapist who has gone really deep into themselves, has met it all within themselves, and has a strong presence that can hold what you're moving through, can be very helpful as well. I just thought I would mention that.
Yeah, I actually had a thought then, but it's left me. You said something what was really valuable. Yeah, it's gone, but never mind.
1-1 today on that. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Yes, check out the Back to the Body course. We're starting tomorrow. We're really going to be diving into this work in a really sort of deep, intense, yet supportive, loving, caring way. It's a real therapeutic container. You know, me and Chris have been practicing this work for a lot of years. We've put the best of the best into this course. We've done courses together, lots of successful courses together. But this is really like everything that we've ever known, which is of value, is in that course. And it's very experiential. It's a very experiential course. It's not so much content and knowledge and information. It'll be deeply experiential and transformative. So check it out.
Yeah, if you want to join us, we start at the first live sessions tomorrow at 6 o'clock UK time. Enrollment closes tomorrow at 5:30. So if you sign up before 5:30, you'll get the first link. So yeah, you've got till 5:30 tomorrow to sign up, basically, if you want to. So I'll drop the links. I'll drop the links to a taster workshop as well in the description if you want to watch that before then. And otherwise, yes, see you again. Okay.
Cool. Cheers, Chris.
All right, mate. Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.